Yo, what's good with y'all? It's Keymajor back with another video for y'all today. Y'all keep loving the Cubeatz samples, so I got another one for y'all today on some choir type of stuff. So with that being said, let's go straight to the video. So this is another sample with two different parts to it. You got the first part and then you have a little intro. But I first started the sample with the choir. This choir is from Splice and this is the one I chose right here. Put that into FL and I took the first portion only. So as you see, I just looped that first part, and then for the effects on here, all I added was some EQ. And then before I exported it, I know I had RC20 in here to make it a little more vintage. Next, I wanted to layer down the foundation, so I went into Contact, and I've been using this piano so much in all my videos, but it's just such a high quality, realistic sounding piano, the vintage upright close piano, and I laid these notes down. Very simple, repetitive, but catchy melody. The way I started this melody is I had my real note, which was C sharp, and then I copied it up 7, so 2, 4, 6, 7, and then up 3 to E. This is a simple C sharp minor. You could also bring the E down 1, which is exactly what I did. I pitched it up an octave. I took the C sharp down an octave, and then all I was missing was that catchy pattern on top, so I just literally just went up the scale like this, and that was it. A very simple, catchy pattern. Copied this over, and I just added a tiny bit of variation for the last half, changing this note, then chopping these off to give it like a little pause, and then dropping back in, copying the whole pattern over. Very simple, repetitive, just a bunch of layering, really focusing on a good sound selection. Again, with sound selection, I added a good amount of effects on here. I first added RC20 gritty vintage preset that I found from Kavi. Y'all could copy this preset yourself to give it that nice distorted vintage feel. A little bit of some compression on the piano, and EQ, kind of taking on some of the heavy bass and then making the mids a little more visible, while also taking the highs out, making more vintage, making it a little more mono with this ozone imager, and then last but not least, cutting out all the lows and then mostly all the highs, again making it more old and vintage and gritty. That was really the only melody I made. After that, I exported it a couple times and changing it, but before I get to those, the last thing I added was just this Rickenbacker bass. I went to the Raven preset, clicked on the guitar, and I went to the tone and I brought both of them down to give it a really low bass type of sound. I didn't want too many highs. Very simple. Just have my real note C sharp, but for the first half I just pitched it up an octave and I gave it that little pause, just give it a tiny bit of rhythm. For the effects, I took out all the highs, raised a lot of the lows, and I made it all the way mono. And that was pretty much it. After that, like I said, I exported the piano into 2 different layers. The first one, for this, I exported it and reversed it. As far as the effects, I added this ambience reverb and I used this dark Rimba room preset. When it comes to replicating that Cubeatz sound, you want to use a lot of reverb with room presets. And I tucked it in the background by removing all the highs, and then I made it all the way mono and panned this to the left since the original piano was panned to the right. And then I copied it over for this half. This is just not reversed. Again, very simple melody, just really focusing on sound selection, which is really all Cubeatz samples are. And I'm running this through the same effects as the first one, and then I copy that over for this one, pitching this one an octave. Like I said, this one's going through the same effects as well. Lastly, just a tiny bit of texture. I added this vinyl noise from this kit right here. This is how the first pattern sounds together. But yeah, that's pretty much it with the first half. Next is the intro. The intro is very simple. I wanted to go for that vintage type of soul sample. I didn't have too much time to make a full vintage sample from scratch. But for this one, I just used a couple of samples from Splice and then gluing them all together. As far as the effects, a lot of these sounded very clean. They didn't come with that vintage retro sound, so I had to add a good amount of effects on all of these. For the first layer, I pitched it down an octave and then I copied it on top at the regular pitch. Kind of layering it to sound more full. Then I ran both of them into mixer 6, where I added that same ambience room preset, turned the mix knob down, added this EQ to filter out the highs and lower some of the lows, some compression on here, and the RC20 vinyl 4 preset to give it that old retro type of sound. Next I had the drums on here, which for these I just made it 100% mono, EQ kind of filtering out the sound, and then another ambience reverb room preset. Next the piano. This one I made mono by 75%, not 100%, because I did want the sample to have some sort of width and not be too mono and empty. I wanted to sound kind of full still. For this one I used Cymatics Origins, just a stock preset, and this EQ raising up a lot of lows since it was lacking a lot of lows and it sounded kind of empty, and then some more reverb just kind of making it a little more full. And then I panned this one a little bit to the right. Now the bass is pretty simple. I just made it 100% mono and I raised a lot of the low end up so it could have a lot more bass, be a lot more heavy. The choir I panned a little bit more to the left since the piano was more to the right. Some reverb again, and the EQ just kind of filtering out. Very simple effects. And then I exported this portion out as well. Now getting into the second half where I just tweaked it a little bit, I pitched up the original sample by 500 cents, and then for the switch up I pitched it up by 200 cents, and then between I just added this little transition. After I exported the intro I did add one more effect on here, and that was the same gritty vintage preset, and I raised the low end a tiny bit. Before I exported it I threw on this EQ, just kind of cleaning it up a tiny bit, exported that, and this is the final sample. So that was pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed and learned something new. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss any more videos. But that's pretty much it. First link in the description has all my high quality sound kits. And that was pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in the next video.